Hello, so I'm Diane, and I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of why I put up a video of our hiking trip. It was our first backpacking trip. Mostly me, decided to take a backpacking trip with just me and my husband out to the Maroon Bells Snowmass Wilderness, but we didn't hike the Four Pass Loop. We hiked Conundrum Hot Springs, and it's about an 8 to 9 mile out and back hike. And at the top is some amazing natural hot springs. And it was probably maybe a little bit ambitious for our first hiking backpacking trip. We are pretty physically active. I did train for this. I advised my husband to train for this, but he decided that he was pretty much physically fit as it was, and he didn't need to train any extra for this. And I think he found out pretty quickly on that he should have probably done a little bit more training during the hike. We did this kind of on a whim, and it was something that I'd been wanting to do for a really, really long time. And after my sister and her boyfriend came back and talked about how they climbed Mount Elbert, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. And this is something I've always wanted to do. And I've been talking about this for a couple years, that I wanted to climb mountains and go backpacking and that kind of stuff. And so I kind of binged watch a bunch of different backpacking things. So shout out to Tim Watson. I watched a lot of him. I watched a lot of Dixie with Homemade Wanderlust, and both of them were really great. I found a few other channels now that have kind of been like suggested and affiliated with each of them, but they gave a lot of really great tips. We decided that we were going to take hammocks and hammock camp while we went up there, and thinking, well, this will be really comfortable, and we can each have our own comfortable place. We did not necessarily know where we were going. At the hot springs, you have to have a reserved camping reservation to camp right up at the hot springs. And I found out later that probably us getting the hot springs permit, because I had found one earlier on and then it went away. Somebody else had reserved it. And so I was like, well, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe the Lord is like, maybe you're not supposed to go. So I didn't think too much of it, and then went back, and there was another one for a 1-day permit in one of the spots. And so finding out that it was likely that somebody else had canceled, and that's how we ended up getting that permit from other folks that had made reservations when we were mingling in the hot springs, finding out that pretty much if you want a camping reservation spot with the hot springs, particularly around the time when the aspens are changing, which is when we got to go, which was really awesome, you have to get that reservation like immediately as soon as they post them on their website, because several of the folks that we had talked to, they had kind of places that they wanted at the springs, and as soon as it opened up, like pretty much most of them were gone within a very short time. So we were very, very lucky, I would say, that we got to do that. And we were hoping initially to stay 2 nights, and we didn't stay 2 nights at the springs, because we could only get a reservation for 1 night at the springs, which was fine. And so we were going to camp a little bit farther down in elevation at Silver Dollar Pond. Again, not really knowing anything about it. There was not a whole lot of videos out there about Conundrum. A lot of them are particularly with the Four Pass Loop, from what I found from different YouTube videos. And so I didn't really know a whole lot about Conundrum. Just that there was hot springs at the top, and I thought, ooh, that sounds fantastic. But we did not camp at Silver Dollar Pond, and I will probably talk about that in another video, like some major fails from a first-time backpacker going up doing this. And I do hope, like, I definitely this fall initially was like, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. It was really challenging mentally and physically, but I don't know if I want to do this again. And probably about after a month and a half, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get back out there. I want to do this again. And so I'm already looking at a few other places. I want to definitely do the 4-pass loop at some point in time, hopefully with my sister and her boyfriend and my husband and I. That would be a really fun thing to do together, I think. And fun. And so we'll see. And then I think my daughter's a senior this year, and so I'm thinking maybe we'll take a trip to like South Dakota and do the it used to be called Harney Peak, Black Elk Peak, and Little Devil's Tower. It's kind of a loop. It's like a 7.5-7 mile loop, so it's not super huge. She's never been backpacking before either, and so I was thinking maybe that would be a nice little send off sometime, and hopefully maybe if we do the 4-pass loop later on this summer, it'll give me a little help in getting kind of my trail legs built up a little bit for 26 miles over 4 passes. I will go through, again, like I said, about a gear review, and it's going to be totally laughable because we are very, very, I won't say broke, but we're on a super tight budget. And so we definitely don't have like all the ultralight gear. I borrowed my daughter's backpack that I had gotten her for school, and it was kind of like a tough, it was outdoor products, and it was it was meant to be like more of a day pack, and so I did use that for my pack and had to load a bunch of stuff on the outside because it was a day pack, and so it doesn't have all the locations for different gear. And then we had a really, really old, when I say really old, I'm talking like people on the trail were kind of laughing at us because it was so old. External frame pack, and so it was very entertaining. My husband got that pack, and so he was a little bit like, really? And I'm gonna climb with this thing, but it's fairly lightweight, definitely not like an ultralight pack by any stretch, either one of them. And that was my request for Christmas this year, was to get a little bit more. So moving out up from a 30-liter pack for myself to a 45.5-liter pack, I think I should be okay. I'm going to switch a few of my gear products up for the next backpacking trips, and just hopefully over time I'll be able to build up some different gear and not have to like splurge and get everything all at once, because I don't think when you're a first-time backpacker you can, unless you're a millionaire or you make a lot of money, you can afford to do that. I know I can't. I've got one that's going to be going off to college soon, and currently both my kids are enrolled in a private school, and so we pay tuition for that. Really, we are not like out there financially like that, but we trust that God will provide for us every month and provide for us to send our kids there, and He has. And so we do without a lot of things for them to have that opportunity and have just some of those different advantages that they can have with that. But so I'll go through that, and I'll go probably do something where we just talk about lessons that we learned from a first time backpacking trip. So, all right, thank you.